I do want to talk about the documentary for a moment, and Monica, you've agreed to come on and be a part of that, and I'm very, very grateful to you.
Yeah.
So the documentary is called Battleground Melbourne. Let me just share a screen here. It'll take me a second.
That's a big name.
Battleground Melbourne, and it's not intended to be a divisive documentary. This is a documentary that is literally designed to lay the groundwork for healing. Believe it or not, as confrontational as the poster may be, this is an early poster using the resources that we had at the time. This will be revised prior to the launch of the actual documentary.
Looks
but there's
great
three
to me.
the graphic artist who did this is amazing, and I love her work. But she was limited in what she had to work with in terms of high enough resolution images and everything else. So there are three main themes. Number one, as you can see on the poster, Daniel Andrews, the concentration of power, the way that he has taken a liberal democratic state, liberal in the traditional sense of a free democratic state, and has turned it into a police state. There is no other word for it, where the police are acting on behalf of the government of the day. The government is now expelling elected members of parliament from being able to participate in the parliamentary process. There is no other word for it. So, excuse me, a very, very strong theme of him and how he did what he did, because it wasn't supposed to be able to happen here. And we need to know, we need to go back and have a look. What happened? Where did we go wrong? How did we allow this to happen? And the rest of the world needs to know so that they can make sure they don't make the same mistakes. The second main theme is going to be the media and the absolute irresponsible reporting that has gone on, and the way that independent media have actually held them to account. So Rukshan is another one who's agreed to come on and be a part of the documentary, and I'm tremendously looking forward to interviewing him for this as well. We've got access to all of his footage as well. And so the media is the second main theme. The third main theme is the pushback. And people like myself, people like Monica, people and so many other good people who have tried to raise the alarm and tried to say, hey, this actually isn't okay. And then, of course, that then turned into protests, and that then turned into the police response and the violence, and that's gone all over the world. So obviously we need to talk about that. That's not a major thing. I'm not just trying to paint the picture of some city that's just in continuous violent crisis. I'm not trying to be unfair to anybody, and we will be including police officers in the interviews as well, and trying to put some understanding, I guess, not trying to excuse them, but trying to put some understanding into this of their point of view. But the main focus is actually to lay the groundwork for a way forward, a way for this state and this city to be able to move forward, to be able to heal some of the divisions that have been created by that man on your screen. Once we get rid of him, of course, and we hold him and a couple of other key people accountable, we've got to find a way to live together. And this documentary is designed to help make that happen. And we did meet the minimum. I had a minimum budget required of $65,000. We met that thanks to my arrest. That was wonderful, and we are continuing to try and fundraise, because that $65,000 was very much minimum. The commercial value of a project like this is about $210,000, just to give you a measure to work against. And we need marketing budget. I need to be able to give my editors and my graphics artists and everything as many hours as possible, and that's budget. So if you would like to support it, and let me say this, don't support this unless you're okay and your family is okay and the people immediately around you are okay. All right, look after yourself and look after those people first. But if you're in a position, I would be very grateful for any support. I'm just going to stick the link. It's on a website called givesendgo.com/Battleground Melbourne. That should show up as a comment in just a moment on all the different places where we're streaming. So I didn't want to use Patreon. I didn't want to use anything that was based in Australia, because that could potentially be targeted for political reasons. So I've gone with a fairly small American fundraising site, and I cleared the project with them first, and they've assured me they're not going to let anybody touch it. They've got no issue with the project at all. It's crazy, Monica, that we even have to do these things. We even have to think about the possibility that we might get deplatformed or taken off. Like, it's just, Jackie, get in touch with me. Send a message to the Topher Field Facebook page, please. These are the sorts of things that I'm definitely looking for.
Yeah,
it's crazy, isn't it?
I actually am kind of, the thing I'm angry about the most, and I use that word lightly, I'm not an angry person, but
yeah,
I'm angry that I have been forced to act and think like someone who would be considered a criminal. So
sure.
I have to think about, I'm from the country. We never locked doors. We never locked car doors. We never locked doors. We didn't lock anything. And now I'm paranoid about who's listening, who's following me, if the police are going to come here. And I'm feeling and thinking like someone that I'm not. And I just hope that there's recovery for that. And I think that what you're talking about
Yeah.
with the apology and stuff, I hope that there's some, and you were just talking about the fact that we had to think about the censorship and all this
Yeah.
sort of stuff. It's not in our character to think like that. And it's weird.
Yeah, it is crazy. I want to grab a comment here from Jessica J6, one of my favorite trolls, by the way, because she never crosses the line into abuse. So I can let her just keep on commenting and feeding the algorithm and getting, every time someone comments, Facebook goes, oh, people love this, and they push it out to more people. So thank you, Jessica. I appreciate your support. She says, a non-biased film, ask Dan's government for film budget. This is not an unbiased film. I want to be really clear about that. This is me answering the misinformation and the lies from the government, from the mainstream media, and from the police. This is the byline, the subheading is the fall of the world's most livable city through the eyes of the people that risked everything to save it. This is our answer. This is our reply to all of the misinformation that's gone out there. So I appreciate your thought, but I don't think that Dan is going to be helping to fund this film at all, Jessica.
He'll be helping to fund the squash of it, if anything.
Well, in a way, he's already helped to fund it, actually, through the arrest of me. So thank you, Dan.
Absolutely. It's like every time they think that they're trying to stop you, they actually do the opposite. It's interesting they haven't learned that lesson yet. Oh, yeah, that's funny.
So look, I'm very mindful that you did tell me you wanted to wrap up at about 9:30, and we're heading towards that mark now. So I'm incredibly grateful for your time. Telling your story. I hope that we've squashed a couple of myths and some of the misinformation that floats around, and I hope that people have gotten a lot out of tonight. I certainly have. I've thoroughly enjoyed catching up. I'm very grateful that you would go along with my crazy idea for us to have our catch up in public, where everyone would kind of see it, and we could catch up with what's been going on.
Yeah, and can I say, I love the documentary idea. I love the title. I love everything about it. I think it's really good. A lot of people, and I've heard a lot of people talk about making a documentary and this and that and the other, but to actually go through with it is like a whole different step. And I obviously understand the work that's involved. So I'm really, really grateful that you're doing this, because it needs to go down in history.
We need to tell this story. There was a question there about the name. It's called Battleground Melbourne. And there was a question about the release date. The target release date is the 20th of December. I want it to be out before Christmas so that over Christmas and New Year, people are talking about what's happened. Yes. No, this coming Christmas. So literally, I need this to be out in about 8 weeks.
Whoa, that's crazy. That's actually a full-time job.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to give myself a little opportunity here, because
Go.
I never respond to trolls, and I never give them any airtime, and this is something that's like kept my morale up, because I think they just want attention, and so I just don't give it to them. But I want to ask you a question. What do you think is the thing that people say the most negative or questionable about me? And in this forum, I can actually address it.
Good. I would imagine that people are most often criticizing you because you're viewed as this person who raised all this money, blah, blah, blah. It would be to do with the fundraiser, I would imagine. Okay. All right. Well, I didn't know you until relatively recently, so you're going to have to answer the question, I'm afraid.
No, but I mean, the fundraising was only when I was in prison. Before that, I never did fundraising for myself. It was, I guess, look, okay, so RDA is funded by donations. Is that?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But, yeah. I mean, look, I guess that's a fair thing for people to think. But, I'll be completely honest about this. I have paid myself $500 a week since about October last year. So my staff actually make more money than me. Yep. So that's all documented, and everyone's paid by PAYG. And how I justify it? I had a really hard time asking for donations at the beginning. The only reason I became comfortable with it was when I was offering services that I thought were worth contribution if someone could afford it, like you just said before.
Yeah.
Providing, so for example, the website costs a lot of money to do. We've got a new app coming. These things cost money, right? We have a 1-800 number, and it's really busy. People just call to chat, okay? And we're not a helpline, so we have to use that time. So the money is unfortunately I couldn't make it a non-for-profit because of the political work that we do. But if I had made it a non-for-profit at the beginning, then it would have been better. But I wasn't able to. So now moving, I can't. So that's kind of sucks. But all the money goes back into the business. So
yeah. Well, look, let me echo that. So I've been a political commentator for 12 years. Until about 3 months ago, the only fundraising I ever did was for specific projects. So there was a deliverable, video projects. There was a deliverable that I was accountable to deliver to a standard that my donors were happy with. And to my knowledge, I've literally never had a donor complain. No one has ever complained when they put money into one of my projects and then seen the project and gone, hang on, that isn't what I thought I was putting my money into, or that didn't look like it cost you as much as what I paid, or whatever, right? But I realized about 6 months ago, and then I started working towards it. And 3 months ago, all the changes started. There's new branding and there's all sorts of stuff going on. You're going to see a heap more changes in the next 2 weeks as well. I realized that by me not asking for ongoing financial support, having a Patreon, I hate Patreon, so I'd never use them. I use a different company called Subscribestar. Because I never did that, and I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was like, okay, this means that I'm not asking people for money and I'm independent and I'm this and I'm that. I realize now that I wasn't able to grow my platform the way that I would have if I just got over myself a little bit. I realize now it's almost this weird arrogance. It's, you know, that's like, no, I'm not, I want to be seen a certain way, so I'm not going to ask people for money. There was sort of an elitism in that, at least for me. Like, I'm just talking about my own personality. And then I realized if I'd actually started doing that, let's say 5 years ago, how much bigger would my platform have been when COVID came along? And how much more of an impact could I have had? And how much more of a difference could I have made if I'd only just got over myself a few years earlier? So I now have 4 people working for me, and this is what's driving the changes that you're seeing. There's a new line of t-shirts that'll be coming out, launching hopefully later this week. I saw someone ask that question earlier, when are the t-shirts coming out? I should be able to share the designs with you later this week. I'm now, this was a supporter who did this for free. All of these slow chats are being turned into podcasts. So he's actually doing that for free, and I don't count him in the 4 people that are working for me. I've got an admin person now. You're going to start seeing these slow chats being cut up into short little digestible segments and being re-uploaded and just reusing some of this amazing content. I have amazing conversations with people. And then once it's finished, that's it. Someone's got to sit down and watch for an hour and a half to see it. Right. And so we're going to start making much better use out of that. But like you said before, you were working 14-hour days and you couldn't keep up. It's the same for me. So I've had to get over myself, and I started a Subscribestar. There's about 72 people that support me so far, and that doesn't even pay for one of the 4 people that work for me at the moment. So we're running at a loss at the moment, but that's okay. We can sustain that for a little while and hope that it grows and hope that it continues. And ultimately, what people see this and they assume that you're just one person. They look at Monica and then say, oh yeah, RDA is Monica. Well, no, it's not actually. There's an enormous amount of hours. You get phone calls on your 1-800 number. I get messages and I get emails, and it's not physically possible for me to respond to them all. But when I see people that are really struggling, I make the time to write them a reply and to try and help them keep going or find some silver lining or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you actually started accepting donations much sooner. I now look at it as a mistake that I didn't do it for 11 years.
It's a really uncomfortable thing. And I understand that. I think it's all about the intention. So if you know deep down that you're going to respect the money that people entrust in you, and that doesn't mean just spending it on yourself, but it's also being wise with how you're spending it, even with staff and things like that as well. So if your intention is good, 95% of people will see that. And the only people that complain are the people that aren't even donating. And
Correct.
if there's ever any problems, I'm the first person to give the money back or send a replacement t-shirt or anything like that. And you know what? If people didn't donate, then I would then know that whatever I was doing was not needed in society.
Correct.
But
it's a signal.
If it is, see, I need to pay for myself to do things. So it's like, okay, people, do you want me to continue this, or do you want me to get a job and only be able to do 3 hours a day? No, the people want you to do it full time. Okay, so that's the answer to my. If I never was able to pay for things, then I would have gotten the answer, and I would have just gone back to being a day job person.
Yeah, as a tried and true capitalist, I wholeheartedly agree. And if there are people who see enough value in what you do and what I do to put their money where our mouths are, then who are we to second guess them and tell them that they're wrong? That's we just got to say, okay, then that's what I'm going to do.
I think merchandise is really great because it's a way to make a little bit of money. It's not much. It's actually a lot of hassle, but they get something for it. So it's kind of like, even if they don't like it, they'll buy it because they want to support you, but they feel better because they're getting something. And we feel better because we're giving them something. So merchandise is a fantastic way of kind of getting through those buffers.
Yeah. Look, the thing I'll close with, Monica, do you want to tell people how they can find you? And then I will encourage people to get on my email list as well. And then we'll finish up for the night.
Sure. So reignitedemocracyaustralia.com.au. Everything's there. Go through the tabs at the top and have a look. If you want to join a community group, under community groups there, you'll see a list of all the groups. You can join one. If there isn't one, you can make one. And that's pretty, we do, just so you know, I don't know if I've told you this, but you know, the website's getting 250,000 views a week at the moment. So people are really enjoying the content. We send out emails every single day with the updated news and things like that. So it's going really well. And so come on over.
Yeah, fantastic. And in my case, someone asked before about me getting deplatformed. It is a risk. I'm not one of those people that goes into the really dangerous territory, but it's always a risk. So the best thing to do would be to head over to TopherField.net. That is my blog. It's a little bit out of date at the moment, but my admin person is actually, their first job is to fix all of that, get it up to date, and then there'll be continuous content coming out on the blog.
Why aren't you on Telegram, Topher?
Look, I'm probably going to have to get onto Telegram sometime soon.
You do need to.
It's because I already have 4 platforms. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and I don't even touch the Twitter. But this is the thing. But again, this is what we're talking about. I don't have the hours in my day to stay across that many platforms. It's only by having other people and paying other people that I can actually stay across that amount of platforms.
So if people want to see you grow, then they need to show you by supporting you. And there's nothing wrong with that.
It took me 11 years to get over myself and get to that point. So go to TopherField.net and you'll find, if you're on a phone, scroll a little bit and you'll see the opportunity to put your email address in there. If you're on a desktop, it'll be on the right-hand side. That way I can keep in touch with you no matter what happens to my socials, no matter what they try and do to me. I'll be able to keep in touch with you there. Well, Monica, thank you so much. This has been brilliant. I've thoroughly enjoyed this chat. I'm so glad that we got to catch up and that we also just got to put out in public things that I think people really need to know. And that way, there were lots of trolls on here, but there's a lot of other people that have listened to what you've said and go, okay, that makes sense. And now when other people, want to get in their ear and talk to them, they'll be able to set them straight. So I think it's been productive. Can I just
make one final point?
Yeah, sure.
So I came up with this quote in prison, which was that during psychological warfare, collective courage of conviction is going to be our strongest weapon. So I think that because they're fighting psychologically, we need to fight back psychologically. And that means that in ourselves and collectively, we need to envision getting our freedoms back and winning because everything they're doing is they're trying to beat our soul, our spirit, take our people away from us. Everything that supports our mental health, they're taking away from us. So I would just say that even in your tiniest world, your lifestyle, whatever situation you're in, just find that courage that's already in you, learn how to use it, start voicing yourself, and you'll love yourself more for it. And then we will actually win for it. And we need every single person out there to find a bit more conviction. And then we're going to be okay. That's it.
100%. The only thing I will add is build a community around you at the same time. Do that, and then also encourage others, build others up, build a community. Building a community around yourself is never a bad thing, no matter what happens in the future. It's time and energy well spent. So on that, let's call it a night. Monica, thank you so much tonight. It's been a lot of fun. And I will see everyone on Thursday night. I have a very special 2 guests. The first time I've ever had 2 guests coming up on Thursday night. I'll tell you all about that on the Topher Field Facebook page in the coming days.